Between catastrophic natural disasters and mass shootings, it's almost as if we've been inundated with sad and depressing headlines pretty much as of late. And for a lot of people, these deadly events are starting to feel like the new normal. This reality can be tough as an adult, but then the question is, how do you even tackle this when it comes to your children? Joining us now is Susan Hoff, an early education expert with the United Way of Dallas. Susan, thanks for joining us. You know, we talk about the earthquake in Mexico, 3 hurricanes that caused such devastation, now this mass shooting in Las Vegas. First question, should we be tackling or discussing each and every incident with kids when we're trying to explain what's going on here?
Well, you know, that really depends on the age of the child. And so with really young children, the best thing we can do is try and shield them as much as possible from a lot of inundation with media and hearing things over and over again. But it's pretty safe to assume that most children, particularly if they're 4 or 5 years old and up, have heard something about these.
It's almost hard to even shield them from it because it's everywhere.
So the most important thing to do with any age child is listen. And you know, I think you can start by saying, what have you heard about this? And then it's not so much talking to your children but with them, but the most important thing to do is listen. Ask, and what have they heard? Are they afraid of something? Do they have some misinformation? And then answer their questions. With really young children, again, it's really important to keep it pretty simple. You know, as simple as somebody did something really bad. They hurt a lot of people. I don't know why that happened, but it did. But the most important thing for us to remember right now with a young child is to say, but look at all the people that helped. There were more people who were helping than someone that hurt.
You know, it's interesting because you have this concept of preserving a child's innocence, and I'm wondering, is it safe to sort of not acknowledge in many cases what's happening?
I think you can assume that you need to ask. Unless you live completely in a complete bubble where your child is not exposed to anyone else and they never hear any television or radio at all and you don't talk about anything, they probably have heard something. The most important thing to remember is speak to them at the level of understanding that they have. Bigger kids are going to have more questions. They want to know more details. Answer them as best you can. Older kids, teenagers, may really want to start talking about things like, you know, solutions and laws and policies.
And that brings me to my next question, because oftentimes when we're watching, for us, for example, here in North Texas, we're sort of watching from afar all of these devastating clips and video, and there is a sense of helplessness that really sets in. So how do you suggest we go about turning that around?
Well, I think with all kids, and particularly in natural disasters, you can talk about how can you help. You know, even really young children can do things like, you know, collect supplies for kids that have come to a new school, for instance. And pointing out helpers is very, very important. As kids get older and they start thinking about what are root causes, what are solutions, those are really important conversations to have with your child. It's part of growing up, and unfortunately in this day and age, trying to make sense out of senseless is increasingly part of all of what we have to do.
It's so hard, it's difficult, not only for the kids, but also for the adults as well. Well, Susan, thank you so much for offering those tips. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so let's switch over.